Straight ahead, we're rediscovering some hidden gems across Arizona and taking you to a sweet spot in Old Town Scottsdale. Plus, we're heading out to a Phoenix treasure that's been entertaining families for more than 7 decades. And we're doing some hard time in history as we get locked up in an old jail. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of 12 News. I'm Crystal Long. For the next half hour, we're rediscovering some amazing treasures tucked away across Arizona. And first up, we're going back in time to the era of DVDs. In a world where streaming is king, we're going to the last surviving movie rental store in the Valley. It's a little place called Superstar Video. Get the popcorn poppin'. We're in Glendale to rent movies the OG way, from the classics to new releases to movies you can't even find on streaming.
Take your time, browse around. My name's Matt Mason, and this is my shop, Superstar Video. I've been working here 30 years. The store's actually older than I am. This is our 46th year, family owned.
When I walked in, I saw row after row after row, ceiling to floor of movies. How much is in your inventory?
We'll go 100,000 plus. I mean, obviously there's duplicates, but you're gonna find stuff here that you're just not gonna find anywhere else. I like to think of ourselves as a library, actually.
In a world where streaming is king, how did Superstar Video survive?
There's so many decades of history of movies that you're just unaware of until you step in a place like this. Renting a movie is more of an event. You bring your family here, you all get to pick a movie. It's not the mundane of picking a movie from streams. And most of the time it's what's new and what they want you to see. You can't ask Netflix a question. You can just come ask me for your movie and I'll find it for you. Because I catalog them, I put them away, I know where everything is. And even if you don't know what the movie is called, I'm gonna find your movie. And if I don't have it, I'll track it down.
Oh, I was looking for this. And if you find a movie you really love, you could also buy it.
Bronx Tale gets asked for a lot. Drop Dead Fred gets asked for a lot. And movies don't have to be old to be hard to get. This is a movie just from, we'll just say 5 years ago, Ready or Not. This is a movie you can't stream anywhere and is already a rare movie.
Why are you passionate about keeping those doors open?
1, I love to collect these movies. And 2, I love the interaction with other movie fans. Thank you, we'll see ya. That come in looking for a movie, and whether you want to talk about a movie or you're looking for that hard to find movie, it's something you just don't get in everyday life.
So do the right thing and get your nostalgia fix by taking the family on a joyride to Superstar Video, a wonderland of movies. You'll find the rental you want, and oh, he's got games too. And don't forget the deal, 4 for specials and 99-cent Super Mondays. In Glendale, Crystal Long, 12 News. Now bring your sweet tooth and your appetite for nostalgia when you visit this popular destination for tourists and locals. Sugar Bowl is a family-owned and operated restaurant that's also a founding business of Old Town Scottsdale. There's nothing sweeter or pinker than the Sugar Bowl. This Scottsdale spot hasn't changed its location, decor, or menu since it opened in 1958. You can't go wrong with a Chicado, double-decker, or banana split. So come for lunch, dinner, or dessert and stay for the fun and nostalgia.
Thank you for coming in. It opened in 1958. It's been in my family the entire time. I'm 3rd generation owner. My great uncle opened the restaurant. He wanted somewhere that he could take his family. Old Town back in the day, it wasn't family friendly per se. It was all bars. And that is kind of how the Sugar Bowl was founded, was to be a family friendly establishment. I have been in here since I was in diapers.
That sounds like every kid's dream, around ice cream every day.
Yes, we had so much fun. I remember my brother and I, we would come in on holidays when we were closed, and so we would get to make whatever we wanted.
Is there something that's been your favorite forever?
Yes, the Buster Brownie is by far my favorite.
Gonna start with a homemade brownie, big scoop of ice cream in here, fudge, and some marshmallow sauce. Whipped cream, which is homemade whipped cream here.
Can't forget the cherry on top. Arizonans and the visitors alike just love this place. Yes. What do you think it is that makes it an Arizona icon?
Well, it's those generations that tell their friends friends that, if you come to Arizona, you need to try this place. I have, call them our regulars, and they'll come in twice a week and get the same thing every single time. It's just one of those places. You can't go in anywhere and find a cream cheese and green olive sandwich like you can here.
Here you'll find everyone's favorite family, the family circus. Sugar Bowl was featured many times in the comic strips throughout the decades.
Bill Keane was from the area. His family used to frequent a lot, and he was friends with my great uncle Jack. And so he started featuring the Sugar Bowl in it, and that's how it was born. Bill Keane unfortunately passed away a while ago, but his son does the comic and still comes in. So it's still in the family, and it's really neat. This was one of the original menus that we keep. We had our ice cream cones that were 15 cents. It's always good to look back and see where you came from.
Sugar Bowl has a lot of rich history. What do you see for its future?
You don't want to change too much. It's important to keep that nostalgia and those memories that people have coming in. Keep it a small family business. That's really important and something that you don't see very often anymore. I have a son. He is 12. We already get him behind the counter sometimes. He's ready. And you'll always see us on the floor still. Enjoy your ice cream. We love being out here with the customers. It's really important to us.
At the historic and iconic Sugar Bowl in Old Town Scottsdale, I'm Crystal Long, 12 News. Now let's hit the road on a sweet Harley for this Rediscover Arizona feature. The Buddy Stubbs Historical Motorcycle Museum in Phoenix is a unique destination that's free to explore. Let's go. Ride on over to the largest collection of vintage motorcycles in the Southwest. It's celebrating 20 years with more than a century of history in this building.
Welcome to Buddy Stubbs Historical Motorcycle Museum inside of Buddy Stubbs Harley-Davidson in North Phoenix. We have 130 motorcycles in here. They all run. Our oldest bike is the 1913 Indian. Our most valuable is the 1935 Bruff Superior. There's some of these bikes that are virtually one-off nowadays.
What is your favorite bike in here?
To me, the most interesting bike is the 1915 Excelsior. If I was going to pick one to ride, it'd be one of the Vincents. They were the best bikes you could buy back in the late 40s until 1955 when they went out of business. They're still very sought after.
And what's the fan favorite bike here?
The Evel Knievel bike attracts a lot of attention. When he jumped the fountains at Caesar's Palace, when he landed, he destroyed that bike. Buddy and Evel were friends. Buddy had a 68 Bonneville, same bike. Evel said, I want to buy that bike and make a replica of my fountains bike.
Bet you didn't expect to see this in the desert. Harley-Davidson made snowmobiles in the early 1970s. Upstairs, you'll find a collection of dirt, racing, and military motorcycles, as well as scooters. How did this all start?
Buddy's been collecting bikes virtually his entire life. When they designed this building, he designed it to have room for his collection in here. There's stuff on the walls here that is really pretty unique. There's some pictures when Buddy was doing stunt work for TVs and movies.
What draws you to this place and where your passion's from to be here?
I like the older bikes. There's so much that has changed over the years. All the Harleys before 1952, you shifted with the knob on the tank. There's an awful lot of people that come in here and find something from their past. I had one of these, or my dad had one of these, and it's kind of a nostalgia trip for them in some ways.
The museum is only open on Saturdays, but if you're checking out the dealership any other day, just ask a team member and they'll get you in. In Phoenix, Crystal Long, 12 News. Rediscover Arizona is sending us to the slammer, sort of. Turns out there's a local jail museum where you can walk through old cells, learn about infamous inmates, and pretend you're living an orange jumpsuit life, all without committing a crime. Let's get locked up in the experience. You have the right to rediscover Arizona. We're unlocking history here at the Maricopa County Justice Museum and Learning Center. It's a place where punishment once was, but now curiosity roams free.
We are in the old historic courthouse, built in 1928. This floor that we're in today is the old jail.
What was prisoner life like back in the early 1900s here?
It was a lot tougher than prisoner life is today. You can see how many bunk beds are here. Can you imagine 200 men in these cramped quarters? They had no air conditioning. They actually had windows in the jail. Prisoners would be able to yell to friends and relatives on the street. They would be able to talk back and forth. On the actual steel, they would etch art. And there's a Last Supper scene and family members and so on. And so we've saved some of those to give visitors an understanding of what prisoners back in those days spent their time doing.
What's the most fascinating case to you that happened here in Arizona, and who's the most infamous inmate?
Ernesto Miranda. And you probably have heard about the Miranda warnings that police have to give when someone's arrested. You have the right to remain silent. You can have an attorney appointed for you and a whole series of other rights that you have. Well, Ernesto Miranda wasn't given those rights, and he was arrested in 1963 and held in this very jail.
From jail cells to court cases to even more curious faces, the nation's only museum in a working courthouse has a new exhibit that's just been sworn in.
This is the Breaking Ground exhibit to celebrate women in the law. Most notably, Sandra Day O'Connor. My personal favorite is the telephone. It is a very, very close replica of the phone that Sandra Day O'Connor used to pick up and get the message from President Reagan that she was being appointed as the very first woman to the U.S. Supreme Court. And then we also have an actual robe that was Sandra Day O'Connor's.
Arizona is also groundbreaking.
We were the first state to allow jurors to take notes. Now we allow jurors to start talking about a case before all the evidence has been heard. Another really cool thing, and this is specific to Arizona and specific to just some of our counties, is we have merit selection. People who want to be Superior Court judges actually get appointed.
We're adjourned at the Maricopa County Justice Museum and Learning Center inside the historic courthouse in downtown Phoenix. Crystal Long, 12 News. The museum is free to tour and open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It even has a justice experience for students and teachers. We're just getting started on this Rediscover Arizona special. Coming up, we're checking out a Phoenix favorite that's been a treasure to Valley families for generations. Plus, one nonprofit is preserving our childhood toys. I'll take you to this little-known doll and toy museum that's sure to give you nostalgia. Welcome back. We're now rediscovering Enchanted Island and Encanto Park, where a rare ride has been delighting parkgoers for decades. Let's take the historic Encanto Carousel for a spin. This charming amusement ride will bring out the kid in all of us. This is the oldest continuously operated carousel in Arizona, thrilling riders for more than 75 years in Phoenix.
Here we go! My grandparents actually were on this carousel. My parents were on this carousel, and the tradition continues with my kids. Brings back great memories while we're making new ones.
The Encanto Carousel's home was once known as Kittyland, and now Enchanted Island Amusement Park. In between, the merry-go-round went on a ride of its own.
When the park closed in 1989 around, it was sold off at auction. It was bought by a developer and was going to go to the west side of Phoenix when a group of patrons that loved riding the carousel got together. They proposed a bid to the guy that won the auction, that if they raised enough money, could they buy it back from him. So they raised the money and they bought it from him, and so it never actually left.
What makes this a treasure and a tradition in our community?
This is the only Little Beauty carousel, Alan Herschel Beauty, in Arizona. This carousel was built in 1948. During this period, they were half wood and half aluminum because all the aluminum was going towards the war effort.
Why are you passionate about preserving and protecting the Encanto Carousel?
I'm a real history nut, so I really like nostalgic theme parks, and getting the opportunity to care for one is just a great honor. We enjoy putting smiles on faces and seeing little kids take their first carousel ride or their first train ride or their first time at the amusement park, so we really enjoy it.
Go Cowboys!
And everyone has a favorite horse. Why this one?
Because it kind of reminds me of Batman.
This is the Arizona horse, and it is my absolute favorite. In Enchanted Island in Phoenix, Crystal Long, 12 News. From Barbies to babies and G.I. Joes to Gumby, one nonprofit is preserving our past playtimes. We're headed to downtown Glendale now to not only rediscover Arizona, but also our childhood. There's a museum there made for all of us kids at heart. Feel like a kid again at the Arizona Doll and Toy Museum. It's a collection of about 1,000 vintage toys from around the world. You can explore and reminisce on your own. Oh, I remember playing with Furby. Or you could take a tour.
Come on with me. The museum is nonprofit, run by volunteers for the last 35 years. So we have some of the miniature shops from Knott's Berry Farm in 1950s and 60s. Then we have the antique dolls. Most of them all came from Germany. She's about 160 years old. She's French. She has a human hair wig, and her body is made out of leather stuffed with sawdust. These are antique doll rooms. They're called room boxes.
What's the oldest toy you have in your collection?
We have what you call a millenary model. She is paper mache and wood, and from the late 1700s.
Someone looks like they're in trouble. Shh, this 1912 class is still in session. Hey, did I see somebody passing notes?
And then as we go into the museum, we start getting into more newer toys. We have the American Girl, we have G.I. Joe, Betsy Wetsy, Tiny Tears, Thumbelina, Barbies, of course. But before Barbie, the most important doll was Shirley Temple. Everybody loved Shirley Temple. Cootie was a huge game for a lot of kids in the 60s and 70s.
This is a day and age when it's all about video games. Why is it important to collect these vintage toys and put them in this museum for people to come and enjoy?
Just to know what your grandparents had or your parents and just how it has evolved. There's not a lot of even toy stores around anymore, let alone antique stores or museums. We should really look back and remember some of our good times with toys as we were children.
What was your favorite toy to play with when you were growing up?
All kinds of dolls, paper dolls mostly.
Kathy, what would you say is one of the most unusual dolls you have in your collection?
So this girl here had to have 3 different faces on her head so she could show different emotions. They just hadn't invented the eyes to close yet. She is sleeping, and so there's a pin on the top, and you will turn it and happy.
If you'd like to take something home with you to collect or play with, Barbie's my favorite, there's also a gift shop. In downtown Glendale, Crystal Long, 12 News. One Valley Library is storing some hidden gems. Let's see the state's only rare books collection that's open to everyone to explore. On to the next chapter as we now explore Arizona's only rare book collection in a public library.
In this room, we have collections that equal about 5,000 items. We have clay tablets from 2000 BC, all the way to artist-made books from 2024. Directly behind me is a cabinet full of first edition, and then surrounding me is sort of a tasting of books from 15th through 19th century and some first edition classics. This is The Life and Death of King John. It's from 1685, and we believe it comes from Shakespeare's Fourth Folio. This is a tiny Bible. It's a miniature Bible from 1593. And you can just see how tiny that type is.
I think I need a magnifying glass.
I like to place this next to this big Bible. People kind of get a kick out of that. This is a Washington printing press from 1895. It's fully functional. Then if you wouldn't mind, grab this and slowly pull it toward me and then carry it back. And then we will roll it out and then we would get print.
Voila!
So here we have exhibit really showcasing the works of John Milton. And for those that are not familiar with John Milton, think of it in terms of English literary giants. You have Shakespeare and then John Milton. We have John Milton's famous work, Paradise Lost, from 1668, as well as a collection of his works from 1697. This is Raphael Holinshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1587. This copy of Holinshed's Chronicles belonged to John Milton, and that the annotations were in fact his.
The end. From the Phoenix Public Library, Crystal Long, 12 News. The Rare Book Room is only open limited hours and may require an appointment, so be sure to check with the library before going. Straight ahead, these aren't your typical classic cars. They're handmade works of art. We're heading to a museum just south of Phoenix that's home to this special collection.
12 News and 12 Plus keep you in the loop by reporting more from the rapidly growing West Valley.
We're outside Surprise City Hall.
More homes, jobs, and unexpected challenges expanding west.
In Peoria, they'll have the resources ready.
12 News, dedicated to the West Valley.
Explosive is one word for what's happening.
West Valley in the Loop on 12 News and streaming on 12 Plus. Download on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV devices.
Welcome back. The place we're about to show you now is all about one-of-a-kind creations that are smaller than you're used to. We're heading 1 hour south of Phoenix to a museum made up of mini automobiles. Check out my tiny ride and this baby boat too. We're at the Dwarf Car Museum, where small things have become a big attraction.
We've had people from 68 different countries here. Arizona is the dwarf car capital of the world, all because of one man known as Mr. Dwarf Car, Ernie Adams.
Ernie, you created this sweet ride that we're in right now, and you created all of these dwarf cars in this museum?
Yes. Did you hear this other than idle?
The cars may be tiny, but they make a big noise. And then...
I wanted to make tiny cars when I was building them out of crate box boards, and I always wanted a car small enough I could ride in, but big enough I could put a motor on it and go out on the street with it. The first street legal car is licensed as homemade.
When did you start building these dwarf cars?
The first dwarf car I built was built out of refrigerator. I just laid a refrigerator down and I split it down in the middle to make the firewall, and I used all the natural bends of the refrigerator, the hood and everything. Then I started building the dwarf race cars in 1979. In fact, that's where they got their wheelbase off of that refrigerator car. All the race cars have motorcycle engines in them. These street legal ones all have Toyota motors in them.
How fast can these cars go?
These cars will run 75 and 80 all day long on the interstate. They'll top out at 100. They're real responsive because they weigh 1,000 pounds less than the car that the motor came out of.
And you got really creative with some of the details.
Yeah, the turn signals are, I had to make a die and make the bezel, but the glass, the lens itself is built out of a Tabasco sauce bottle.
And I see this one's got 13,297 miles on it. Where have you taken this one?
This car has been on the Route 66. It's been to California and back twice from Phoenix. It's been to Chicago and back. I traveled from Waconda, Illinois to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I got the Rod and Custom Magazine Editor's Choice Award. It said the car you want to drive home.
For even tinier planes, trains, and automobiles, don't miss the Toy Room. In Maricopa, Crystal Long, 12 News. As you've just seen, there's always something to check out here in the Grand Canyon State. From the high country to the deserts, our state is packed with incredible places to explore. Check out more of our stories showcasing Arizona. We're always on 12news.com, the free 12 News app, and on our streaming channel 12 Plus. And if you don't already have 12 Plus on your TV, we invite you to download it now on your Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV devices. That way, you can watch any of these stories plus so much more on demand. Thank you so much for joining us for this Rediscover Arizona special.